Hey everyone, it's Dr. Matt, and today we're going to be talking about intermittent fasting. So let's get right into it. Whether you've heard it from a friend or if you've seen it on social media, intermittent fasting is one of the newer dietary trends that a lot of people are gravitating towards. And essentially what intermittent fasting is all about is you're choosing a specific time of the day where you're not eating at all. You're going through a fasting period. Now, this is the question we're going to try to answer today. Is this just another dietary trend to follow, or is it a promising lifestyle modification? Now, let's talk about the proposed health benefits to intermittent fasting. It's with the intention that when you go through a period of fasting, it's going to help with overall weight loss, it's going to lower your blood glucose, help with overall glycemic control, and it helps with mental clarity, being a little bit more awake throughout the day, having more alertness throughout your routine. And it's even proposed that it can help with your gut flora, your gut microbiome. So getting into the nitty-gritty of how this typically works, when you're not following intermittent fasting and you're just kind of doing your own thing, we live in a world where a lot of carb-heavy foods are being introduced to us. And it's hard to say no to a burger. It's hard to say no to a pizza slice, right? I understand that. But the whole point being is when we intake carbs, what our body does is it breaks down those carbohydrates, and that is our energy source for us to go throughout our daily routine. So when we intake carbs, our blood glucose rises. So in theory, the way that intermittent fasting works is when we limit our carb intake, and when we go through a period of fasting, our body will go through a process called ketosis. And what ketosis is the breakdown of adipose tissue, fat cells. And what happens is when you break down those fat cells, your body will use that as an energy source over what you put into your system, that being the carbs. So with this all in mind, it would make sense how intermittent fasting can help promote weight loss, and it can help regulate your overall blood glucose that's within your system. But let's talk about the research. Let's see intermittent fasting in practice. So right over here is a systematic review, which is basically just a collection of different articles that have been compiled over the years. In this case, this is a systematic review of articles collected from January 1st of 2000 to July 1st of 2019, discussing if intermittent fasting would be a good, promising treatment for obesity. And of all the 41 articles that they looked over, discussing 27 different trials, all of them found weight loss for the patients that did perform intermittent fasting, which can conclude, yes, this could very well be a promising treatment for obesity. Now over here is something very similar. It is a meta-analysis as well as a systematic review evaluating if intermittent fasting affects your overall drive to eat, if it affects your appetite. And from all the collected articles that they got from this meta-analysis and systematic review, it was found that no, intermittent fasting does not increase your overall drive to eat more. This study over here talks about the overall efficacy and safety of performing intermittent fasting while you're getting conventional treatment for type 2 diabetes, in this case, insulin treatment. Now, with this randomized controlled trial, what had happened was they had a group of people that went through the conventional treatment with insulin, and they had another group of people that went through that exact same treatment, but also did intermittent fasting. When they compared both groups, the people that did the intermittent fasting actually had a significantly lower HbA1c level in comparison to the people that did not perform intermittent fasting. Now, all in all, going through the general theory and of course the research backing up intermittent fasting and its health benefits, when we take a look at this, is this going to be the right fit for you? Now, of course, the current research right now says that this is a safe, flexible, and cost-effective diet to follow. However, not every diet is going to fit everybody's mold. Not every diet is going to fit your overall routine. So the big takeaway from this is, I think it's definitely good to try, but I would follow more so the principles that intermittent fasting promotes. Now, some principles that you can take away from intermittent fasting is, of course, mindful eating. Now, you're not going to go into your pantry and get your box of Chips Ahoy or your box of Oreos and clear out an entire sleeve in one sitting, right? that would lead to more of a high sugar, high carb diet. Instead, just taking the principles of mindful eating, knowing what you put into your mouth, limiting your overall carb intake will lead to you feeling better and being more mindfully awake in comparison to if you're having a carb heavy diet. Another principle that you can incorporate is don't eat before going to bed. That would make sense, right? Of course, when you eat something before you go to bed, your body is going to be more likely to store that as adipose tissue, fat cells, rather than taking the food that you eat, breaking it down, and using it as an energy resource. So when you're going to bed and you're making that Hot Pocket before you go to bed, it's not exactly going to be broken down for energy. It's more so going to be stored through here. All in all, intermittent fasting is, in my opinion, a great place to start. But at the same time, too, like we had discussed earlier, there might be some barriers into getting into this given diet. And that would make sense because everyone's daily routine is not uniform. It's not the same. Some people have to get up at 3 a.m. and they got to make sure that they have something in their system so they can go to work early and they can get the job that they need to get done without any inhibition. Some people just enjoy breakfast and they can't really find that happy medium to fast. When I was doing intermittent fasting, I typically did the 16-8 rule. I would start eating at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and then I would cut it off at 8 o'clock at night. I mean, that's a pretty flexible time to work with, but at the same time too, it just simply does not work for everybody. So the long story short is not every diet is going to fit everybody, and that's okay. Thank you so much for watching.